Alright, so this is going to be the last hand of this particular episode, and this is played from a different 510 game at Stones. And this particular hand is going to be a straddled pot. So it's a straddled pot here by Azan here out of seat 1. And we're going to have Sean in seat 2 open this one up here for a raise. And we are not going to show his hand. So we're going to be doing some blurring here in this particular hand. If you're not accustomed to the blurring, we will do a reveal at the end. But we're going to play out of seat number 5 spot. And we are going to make the call of the $45 with Jack 9 suited. Jack 9 of hearts. The video will catch up here in a second. So raise here at a 45 and a straddle pot. We make the call, and you can see we're playing on Aaron's hand over in seat 5 from the hijack. We call the 45, as does TD in seat 6. Again, we're playing out of Aaron's spot. And this is going to go multi-way here. So Sean opened for 45. He gets a call. Looks like 3 or 4 calls. And then Azan is also going to call here because he wakes up with pocket 3s in the big blind. So we're going to see this 4 or 5 ways here. It's actually 5 ways, so it's about a $230 pot. And here we go. Again, we're playing on an Aaron spot, and lo and behold, when we're Aaron, we flop the nuts. So the board is Queen 10-8 here with a couple of clubs. We have flopped the nuts with a backdoor heart draw, and it's going to get checked to us. Now, on this type of board with this type of texture, you talk about a wet board where any number of hands will call your bet, whether it is a queen, a pair and a straight draw, a club draw. And all those types of hands are quite common in single race pots, like a Jack 10, Queen X, Queen Jack, King Queen, whatever it is. Even like 10-9. It's a really, really, really good board to flop the nuts on because, if you flop pocket 8s on an 8 deuce deuce board as 8's full and nobody else has a pair, you're not going to get a ton of action. Give me Jack 9 of hearts on this board against 5 other players. Yeah, I might get sucked out on sometimes, but this is going to be a situation where I'm going to be extracting the most amount of value, in this type of scenario. So if it got checked to me here, and I remember Sean was the preflop raiser, he checked, but sometimes you'll see guys, play wet boards and multi-way pots a little bit slow. Not like slow play, but kind of cautiously. Now, I would be betting here at least 150 with Jack 9 of hearts, I think, at a minimum with this type of textured board. We'll see here what Aaron bet with the Stone Cold Nuts in a second. He bet 75, which is just way, way too small, I think. And it's not the idea that you're going to get sucked out on. It's just you're losing value from hands, I think, that would call larger bets. Because even at 5-10, people don't fold king queen here, ace queen. It just doesn't happen. So betting 75, I think, is way, way too small. One of the other concepts that we talk about that we don't really have to necessarily worry about in this case because we have the nuts is that betting a more standard size usually actually gives you more accurate information about your opponent's hand. And what I mean by that is that if you bet stupid small, unless your intention is to induce, you can sometimes get into some very, very sticky situations. Like, instead of us having Jack 9, let's say that we had 10-8 here. And instead of us betting 75 into 225, let's say we bet 40 or 30. And now, a couple people go by and then somebody raises us. And it's like, well, did they raise us because they have a hand or they're just basically picking on our small sizing? So when you have like intermediate types of hands, it can be very, very difficult to play. And not only are you losing value from getting, more money in there versus worse hands, but you're almost inviting somebody to take a pot shot at you And inducing a bluff can certainly be a viable line in certain situations, but you can get yourself into very, very sticky spots when you use very small sizing. Now, 75 into 225 isn't crazy small, but it wouldn't surprise me, though, if someone might pounce on that, which, of course, with the nuts, obviously you don't mind. I'm just giving you an example of sometimes making kind of these smaller bets with non-nut hands, how it can get you into weird situations. So he bet 75, which I think, like I said, is like kind of lost value. Now, Sean calls. Now, this is where we get into kind of positional awareness. Sean was the preflop raiser under the gun, and we were to his left. So when we bet, everyone folded, and Sean called. Now, that means that Sean can be pretty wide here, meaning that, if we were to bet pot, let's say that, Sean was the preflop raiser, and we came out and bet huge, and he check called somehow, I think that we can basically dismiss like ace king there. You know what I mean? At that point, maybe he has a queen. Maybe he's got aces or kings that he's playing cautiously. But here, when we bet only 75 and everybody else folds and it comes back around to him, I think he can be rather wide here. He could have ace jack. He could have ace king. He still could be playing something safe, but he certainly can be pretty wide when there is nobody else there. To add to that first example, let's say that we came out and bet like 160, and then we got one guy that called, and then Sean overcalled. Well, then we know Sean has something. He's not just calling with ace king. But here, heads up, when everybody folds in between, I do think that he can be rather wide here. Moving on to the turn. The turn here is the queen of diamonds, which doesn't really change anything in terms of our hand if we're Aaron, because there's just no way, given this flop action, that Sean is ever going to have any type of full house here. Because when you think of it, Sean opened a 45. He got 4 callers. The board's super wet. He's never checking pocket queens, pocket tens, something like that. And if he is, he's very unlikely to just check call. So it's a bad card for us in terms of value, I think, if we're Aaron, just in the sense that, well, if he's got ace king or ace jack, he's probably going to fold now. He might now even get scared if he was playing like aces or kings defensively. If he's got a club draw, the board's now paired, yada, yada, yada. The only time that it's a good card for us is that if he was somehow checking a queen, like I said, playing that cautiously, king, queen, ace, queen, whatever he opens from under the gun. I'm obviously not going to check back if I'm Aaron here, but I would probably bet maybe 150, 175, something like that. And then if Sean calls, then we know he has a hand. He might very well have a queen, and we can take him to super value at the end. You know what I mean? We flop the nuts. Like I said, it's impossible for him to have a full house. We still don't know what he has. So Sean checks here once again, and like I said, I'm betting at least 175 here. Probably 175 to 200. Aaron bets 85 here. I mean, bet sizing is such an important thing for value in No Limit Hold'em. These are almost like bets like he's trying to get to showdown with these bets. Just 85. He's got the nuts here. What is he scared of? You've got to build the pot up here. And Sean calls again. And Sean can still be kind of wide here. I mean, I don't know if Sean's going to continue to call here with ace king, but I mean, he's getting like 4 to 1. Something like that. He could call with jacks. Although we do block a jack. But you just got to put more money in. You got to get more value. Now, crazy river comes off. Well, it's not really crazy, but crazy for what happened. The river now is a 9. So now there's a one-liner out there. And the only thing that changes in terms of straights is we lose to king jack. That's it. We now lose to king jack. I don't know if king jack is played in this manner. Again, we block one of the jacks. I guess it's possible, but we can't be scared of the nuts all the time. We had bet so small on the flop and so small on the turn. If Sean checks to us, obviously we're going to bet here again. How does Sean have a jack here? I mean, maybe he's got pocket jacks, but he's still going to just call. He might still even call with king jack. He might be scared of the full house. So not only, if we're Aaron, did we not bet enough on the flop, and we made a ridiculous bet on the turn, but he checks back the river. He checks back the river, which is just unbelievable to me. How do you check back the river here? I just don't get it. Like, what are you scared of? And, you wonder if he was just playing the whole thing sort of cautiously because of those small sizings. And we do a reveal here, and Sean had king queen. Now, I'm not saying that with that run out that Sean would have called 3 streets because of the run out, but he certainly would have called 1 and 2 streets. And if the river hadn't come a one-liner, he would have called 3 streets. He would have had trip queens. So I mean, you're talking about going back and like having again, like we talked about from the hand before. I would probably, if I had played this, I'm just zooming back here. The pot was 205 or 230. I would have bet at least 150 on the flop. Probably would have got a call from Sean. So then the pot would have been 530. The turn would have been a queen, which kind of would have sucked for us. Still would have bet like maybe 225. He would have called again. Now the pot would have been somewhere around 1,000 to the river, and I probably would have bet 300 or 400 at the end. So instead of winning 550, I would have won probably something like a pot of $1,700 or $1,800. So 3.5 to 4 times more with my larger sizing for value given on the board or the nature of that board. And like I said, we did a reveal. We didn't know that Sean had a queen going through the hand, but just the nature of and the texture of the board and what we have and what we think our opponent's range is when he check calls flop and check calls turn. With that, that's going to wrap it up for this video. And thank you guys for being subscribers. I want to welcome all you new guys that are checking out the site. And I will, again, if you are a Crush Live Poker subscriber, make sure you join Slack, download the app, and get on the WSOP channel to, kind of stick with the community here. When this comes out, it'll be right in the middle of Colossus, day 2. Looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys. So take it easy.